Welcome back to the Munn Avenue Muse podcast, brought to you by Munn, M-U-N-N, AvenuePress.com. And I'm really thrilled to welcome Jeff Burgess. We just had the pleasure and honor of publishing his new book, It Worked for Me. I'll tell you a little bit about Jeff, and then we'll hear more from him. I love the opening line of his bio, which is from Outhouse to Penthouse. He's that guy who started in the embryonic stages of the computer industry way back in 1979 as a non-college graduate warehouse manager, selling his way to the top as the CEO of his own $100 million company. His story is all about the bumps and bruises along the way and the lessons learned, honing his uncanny ability to turn opportunities into successes. Unless you think it's all just a straight arrow up, it's not. And Jeff will talk a little bit about that too, right? So Jeff, welcome. So good to have you here.
Thank you, Charlie. And first and foremost, thank you for considering me for your podcast today.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you here. And tell us a little bit about your background and your story.
It's an interesting path to where I got from A to B. I never finished college. I was, as the mid-70s, I was focused on other things and going to class and all that stuff. But and then I bounced around from job to job. I work a couple of days and quit. I had no work ethic. And one day my dad called me and had me come over to the house, which is about a mile away. And really, we had this come to Jesus moment. And he really told me I was a talent, I had great wit, and that I was, if I may, I'll quote him, I was fucking my whole life up. And that crushed me, not because he hurt my feelings, but because I knew he was right. So I went to do something about it. So I used to work the warehouse for my father in my high school summers, and I learned how to work a back end of a company. So I started looking for want-ad jobs for something in a warehouse because that was my familiarity. And I found one, a couple towns away, and I walked in the first day, and I had this realization that I could run this place one day. I did. Within 2 years, I was vice president of sales, and it was a family business. And with all family businesses, at one point, there was issues, and I wasn't family as much as I was thought of and all that. And I get it. And everything happens for a reason. And I got pretty heavily recruited in the Chicagoland area as a salesperson. I kind of went from a warehouse person to a salesperson, and all because I knew the products. One of the earliest lessons I learned from my mentor at that original company, Tech Aids, from Judd, he won a Texas state contract worth about $3 million without owning the product. And when I questioned him, his comeback was, first get the deal, then worry about it. And sure enough, the next day he had a contract from the vendor and all that stuff. So one of the things I learned early on, that sales is 99% confidence, 1% bullshit. Okay. If you're talking to the customer assuredly, firmly, openly, like that product like the back of your hand, he's in. Okay. But if you're stumbling around, fumbling around, I don't know, let me check and all that, he's already playing Rolodex roulette. Now, I'm aging myself. I'm not sure people today know what a Rolodex is. Take my word for it. He's playing Rolodex roulette. So I began becoming, for the lack of a better term, a hired gun in the Chicago area as a salesperson. And I was making radical changes inside organizations. One such organization, this is way back in the 1980s. Yes, I'm aging myself. It was a company called Electech, who was the retail store name in Chicago. They had the They ran the back page of the Chicago Tribune every Sunday with full page Hewlett Packard LaserJet ads and all that stuff. And we took that retail shop and made it into a corporate selling entity. Because again, all you need as a salesperson is a brand. And that brand could be you, that brand could be a certain product line you carry, or a name. And everybody knew Electech. So it was really an easy door opener for me. I'm not a cold caller. I don't do well at that. I was always a warm caller. Not necessarily an intro, but maybe a sideways feel around first before I got into a company. But once I got in, my success was always being creative by listening, which is a lost art these days. It was a lost art back then. But even more so with all of today's technology and people distracted looking at their phone while the customer's talking, listening is a lost art. But by listening, you can learn the customer's pain points and start thinking of ways that you can eliminate those pain points without even saying to him, hey, I'm going to fix your pain points. Okay. You just end up doing a little workaround that he realizes, hey, this guy fixed my pain point. Those are the little things that make you indispensable to a customer. And there's nothing like being indispensable to a customer. Okay?
That's really interesting.
You want to be that go-to guy. I'm sorry. Sorry I rambled on.
That's all right. No, it's really interesting, Jeff. I'm listening to you, and I myself, way back when I wasn't sure what I was going to do, I'd gone to law school. And I didn't want to be a lawyer, and I kind of backed my way into a family business, and I started in sales. And I found I really enjoyed sales, and sales, gets a stereotypical bad rap, but really the world revolves around sales and making connections. Mm-hmm. And as you said, confidence matters, and I think what confidence leads to is trust.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
The buyer believes that the seller will deliver what they promise or more, and that bond is key. And I've always enjoyed the process of presenting a product or an idea and getting together to do it. I also resonates with me about warm referrals. And for those of you who are not sales professionals and maybe don't even care about it, but a cold call is that person that gets on the phone and wants to sell you the latest so-and-so that you've never heard from. And a warm referral is, a friend or a business associate or somebody recommends you. So Jeff, you and I got together because a mutual friend and author who we published said, hey, you should talk to this guy.
Right.
And your chance of successfully making a sale or getting together with someone is much greater if you're recommended and referred. And
without question. And I was terrible doing a cold call. Okay. And I only because I didn't have confidence in myself doing it, but I was really good when I was walked in, especially by one of our product vendor salespersons, them recommending me into like I had with Unisys 1,000 years ago. They were literally walking me into Kellogg's, Keebler, Sherwin-Williams. So those are ones you want to, once you get that vendor trust status, you're in sacred, holy territory. You don't want to do anything to break that trust. And one of the ways would be to inadvertently mention a competitive brand that you also carry. So you got to be really on your game during those calls with those customers. But those are the kind of things that I got really good at, probably because of all the times I was brought in front of customers. But I love setting myself up being at that time the PC shop for all these mainframe companies and their salespeople were selling multi-million-dollar mainframes to these customers. They didn't want to screw around with $3,000 PCs. That was beneath them. It wasn't beneath me. So that's how I positioned myself as their. I became the PC store inside, like I said, Kellogg's, Keebler, Electech, which was a huge Chicago company. We even started a PC store there. So those are kind of things that I think I did really well in my career, was see an opportunity and find a way to get into the opportunity, and then let the opportunity stand on its own 2 feet. And
Yeah.
don't ask the customer how I'm doing. You'll know whether
Yeah.
whether he's buying more or whether he's like, okay, thanks, but no thanks. So
Yeah. So, I mean, there are, yours is a not only a remarkable success story, but it's a really engaging read because you're telling stories, and sometimes bad things happen. Like, I was quite struck by the passage of when you had a stroke and didn't realize you had a stroke. Can you share a little bit about that experience?
it was a rough day at the office. I was really had an emotionally spent day. We had some internal strife going on that I had to deal with, and I let them fester. And on the way home to my house, about 2 miles away, all of a sudden I'm driving down our main street to our house, and my steering wheel's feeling really heavy. I'm like, oh my God, what's up with my car? And I managed to get into the house somehow because I couldn't even feel my legs. So I had to basically almost crawl into the house and get into my chair. All I had to do was get into my chair, and then everything would be okay. It's a guy thing, I guess. Okay. But that was my Superman secret fortress of solitude, was that chair. So I got into the chair, and I said, and then I tried to will myself out of what was going on, as I should have been instead calling 911. I didn't want to, it's in the book, but I did not want my wife to come home and see an ambulance in our house. Okay. Which she's still mad at me about. But in the meantime, she came home and I went to the hospital, and sure enough, I had had a stroke. And luckily, when I stroked, I was already at the hospital because they transferred me without my knowing it from one hospital to the other, because they were the brain hospital, which my wife would contend I don't have a brain, but that's where they sent me. And and I woke up the next day with my 3 kids, my wife in the room, crying.
Yeah.
But then I realized they weren't crying because I was dead. That's good.
Yeah, so I mean, you've had, and the book is full of your experiences, but most people who either have had successes or difficulties don't write a book. What inspired you to take the time and make the effort to write the book?
Well, it's funny. It's a funny question because I don't read books. Okay, my wife's in probably 3 or 4 book clubs. Okay, and I just know me, and I knew that after 45 years in the computer industry, that I needed to get this out of my system so I can go on with the rest of my life, or whatever that was going to be. And that's how it all started, as if anything, just some kind of memoir that I can leave to my kids. Because, again, that a few years earlier, I could have been gone by now. But I wanted something to leave to my kids of how the heck did this happen for Dad, Mom's 4th child. Okay. Because really, the kids knew me as more of a, I guess you'd say, immature. Luckily, I married a woman who loves immature men. But I was like me and my kids related really well that way. But I only did this just to get it out of my system, just so I can do that and go on with the rest of my life, whatever that was going to be. But I knew if I had that inside me with my OCD gene that I inherited from my father and all that, I would never let go of it. And I really wanted to let go of it. And that was the only way to purge it from my soul.
And that's a perfectly good reason to write a book is people feel like you feel they have to get something out, and then there are many with a story to tell, and even if you're writing fiction like I do, there's a legacy in it. There's something your kids and grandkids will read someday and say, oh, that's what my grandfather or grandmother were like, and that's why they did what they did. And I've often thought, gee, I wish my grandfather had or grandmother had written something I could read, because they're sort of like in the distant past, and I don't know who they are. And then sometimes something unexpected happens, which is last week your book was a Amazon #1 bestseller in multiple categories for memoirs and biographies and entrepreneurship. I mean, it was pretty amazing.
When you pay off the right people, good things happen, Charlie. It's just basic sales. Yeah.
Well, you did, and it did. So so that works out. And then you had the experience. We work together with authors frequently to produce audio books, and when it's nonfiction and the author has a good voice and style like you do, I encourage them to record their own books. And you just finished recording your audiobook. What was that experience like?
It was really great. First of all, the sound engineer was patient. He was great, and his slice and dice on tape and overdubs and all that was fantastic. But it was a really good experience. I really enjoyed verbalizing the story because, again, I'm trying to get it out of my system a little bit. So I'd already written it out of my system, but there was still some hanging around inside. So it was really a nice way to articulate what had happened. And I mean, some of the stuff, even all these years later, still boggles my mind. And I'm still learning things. I mean, when I think of it, I was riding the technology wave before Google, before there were LaserJet, laser printers, years before Michael Dell invented Dell. And, I was already unknowingly kind of versed in the technology world. So it's been quite a fun ride for 40 plus years on all the things that have happened. I do think sales skills are sales skills. And even with all the technology today, if I had, Google and AI and all the other stuff that comes out in social media and all that, if I had it today, I wouldn't have done anything different of how I sold, because sales is about human interaction and face-to-face, and the customer trusting what you're telling them and you being able to deliver on what you promised.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
And was I perfect? Hell no. Did I try to be perfect? Hell yes.
Good for you. So, I don't know if you have it available, but if there's a paragraph or two you would like to read from your book, I'd love to hear it.
Sure. Hang on. I actually thought you might ask that question. So I thought this would kind of sum up this kind of sums up what I built on what I built my building or built my company on, the basic foundation. I don't know what paragraph it is or what page, but it's out there. I guess you'll have to buy the book to find out, huh? So I used my OCD gene and sense of urgency to build $100 million company around the simple mantra of OTFD, out the fucking door. We excelled at landing complete solutions globally in less than 10 days. But OTFD was never just about delivery speed. It was the DNA of the company. We were a now business. We made time commitments and challenged ourselves to beat them while constantly maintaining our focus on quality. OTFD did not put pressure on us. It made us better. OTFD was our value add, and our customers fed off the buzz swirling around it.
Great. That's great. I have to say, Jeff, working with you um, was a very speedy process because you were so responsive, and I'm lightning fast on email as well. And it was almost 2 months to the day from when you had a final manuscript to the point that it was published and available for sale, which was about as fast as we've ever done it. So,
I'm a big believer in off my plate onto yours. I don't want to be the guy holding the trains up, It won't be me.
I'm absolutely the same way, and there's real advantages in speed, and it's part of the reason I landed up in the independent publishing business, because on my first book, Not So Dead, I had 9 interested agents, and the one I thought who could sell the book, because selling is what agents do, right? Mm-hmm. I asked her, well, how long will it take from the time we agree to work together to the time the book sees the light of day? And she said 2 years. Now, with my gray hair and the fact that my first book took me like 10 years to write, 2 years was just not going to work. So 2 to 3 months is a much better answer.
I can feel your pain there. 2 years. I'm not a 2 years guy.
No. 2 years is a lifetime, especially when you and I are over 30. It's.
I'll be lucky to have 2 years still left in me. So
Yeah. So if you're gonna do anything, really, now's the time to do it, for sure. So what was
great to work with? A lot of that speed, though, wasn't all on me. One of my 2 commandments, the 2 commandments I go by are know thy customer, know thy competition. You guys definitely knew thy customer, because you realized what you were working with. And, I don't like being called impatient. I find it a negative term. I just happen to have a different motor than most, and I run at a different speed than most. And if you can't keep up, well, that's okay. That's on you, not me. I'm not going to slow down so you can keep up.
But we like working fast. And
it was a great combination. We both had the same. Yeah. We both had that same synergy.
Yeah.
On speed.
Yeah. No. So what was that experience like of putting a manuscript and an idea for a cover in somebody else's hands and seeing it come to life? What did that feel like?
Surreal. Again, it just, the whole hypocrisy that I don't read books, but I wrote a book. I'm still trying to get my arms around this one. I wonder if my wife will introduce my book into one of her book clubs. But boy, she's tough. I'll have to wait in line, I'm sure. But that's okay. It's worth the wait.
I think, Jeff, what you bring up is, and your experience is an example of it. People write books for different reasons. You're not looking to become a professional writer, but you had a story inside you that you wanted to tell.
Right.
And by writing it and publishing it and even recording an audio book, your kids and grandchildren can listen and hear your voice in the future as well, hear your story told in your voice. That's a great reason to write a book. And then we work with many authors. We did an interview a couple of months back with Vince DiFilippo. We just published his 9th book last week, and he wrote 9 books in 3 years. That's his thing. How he did that
to a whole new level, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm not even close to that.
He's a full-time finance guy, so it's like crazy stuff. But people have different reasons for writing books. With me, I just had this book inside me. I didn't know if people would like it. I've always loved thrillers. I had a message, and I believe if you can entertain people first, and this as a storyteller, even in sales, there's a power in telling stories, right? And I'm sure you use that all the time as part of sales. So, and even in writing a book, books that just come at you with declarations, I don't think work. People get bored, they close them. But stories, people want to hear stories, right?
I hope so. At least in my case. And I got to work with a really good person as my, he wasn't my ghostwriter. He was my pore opener in my brain and really helped me open some things up. And Jamie Malinowski. And it was really beneficial to me getting this book really off my plate and onto yours, Charlie. In the meantime, because my company had done so much work indirectly with a lot of our military organizations, our video recording servers are U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force locations over the world. We're in the Pentagon, we're in the U.S. Capitol, all those things. And life has been very good to me and Joanne. More so now than ever, now that I have a 5-week-old grandchild. But we wanted to give back. And that's why we decided that all the proceeds from the sales of this book aren't going to my pocket. They're going to the pocket of the Wounded Warrior Project. Just because...
Which I think is great. That's great.
We had that sideways relationship based upon, as I say in the book towards the end, I had this inner peace. We were protecting those protecting us. And that's what kind of carried me. So, yeah. So we're really excited about that. And hope that will also help people want to buy the book, knowing it's going to they're going to donate there anyways. Now you get a free book out of it too.
Yeah. And so if you want to read a great inspiring story and contribute to the Wounded Warrior Project, Jeff's book, It Worked for Me, is available on Amazon, and probably by the time you hear this podcast, it'll also be at barnesandnoble.com, and it's available as an ebook and paperback and hardcover, and in a few weeks it'll probably be available as an audio book as well. So Jeff, anything next? What's next for you?
Well, there ain't no book coming. I'm really trying to, like I said, been blessed. We have our first grandchild, and one of the nice things was over the last few weeks, that recording studio was only half a mile from my daughter's home, in Chicago. So on the way out of the studio, I was able to come by and hold them for a couple, an hour or so at a time. So that was the icing on the cake for me. So I don't really, right now, I don't plan on doing a book tour or anything like that. I'm just gonna see whatever life brings me, and I'll continue to do what I'm doing. And she hasn't killed me yet, so it must be working.
Well, I know your book and your quality of life will continue to be successful because of not only your talent, but your good nature and your sense of humor, which I think is key to a good, happy, healthy life. Wouldn't you agree?
Totally. I want to go out telling a joke.
I could see that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure to work with you. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast, and I look forward to seeing your audiobook come on board, and many great things, Jeff.
Thank you, Charlie. Really, the thanks go to you and your team. Your team was incredible. So that first cleanup in aisle 4 on the original manuscript was incredible. My wife was an English major, and she was going through it and making edits of comma in the wrong place, missing this and all that. And then once, I think it was Jennifer, sent back the script, my wife's like, "Oh my God, this girl's incredible." And she's tough. Joanne's tough. So your team was incredible to work with, and I had no idea how to write a book. I just wrote a manuscript. You guys made it a book. So thank you for that.
Oh, it was our pleasure. And as you can tell, even from the beginning with your writing to working with us, it's a collaborative experience. There's a lot of people involved in producing a really good book. And yours is. So I recommend it again. It worked for me on Amazon and Barnes & Noble soon. So please tune in again to the Munn Avenue Muse podcast, brought to you by munnavenuepress.com. And if you have an idea for a book or you've written one and you'd like to talk about bringing it out to the world, to a wide audience, internationally, as we do, please contact us at Munn avenuepress.com. Thank you again, Jeff, for being here.
Well, thank you for what you've done. I really appreciate it. And you've made me an author. Who knew?
An Amazon #1 best-selling author.
Well, a lot of that has to go to a shout out to my creative designer, Donna Sandler, who did the cover and all that. And I love that paint font she used for the cover. It just looks striking. So
she did a great job.
She really did. She made it electric. So, off the shelf.
Great. All right.
Again,
thank
Charlie,
you again.
thank you. Thanks again to you and your team. I'll forever be grateful.